person you would go. Bard is in upstate New York. It's very beautiful. You would stay there. They have very small classes, no more than 12 people, and you do three 90-minute workshops each day. And then in addition to kind of doing your own writing and getting feedback, you'll be reading and discussing reading, all those different components of what makes a writer's education. So I think for folks who are very seriously interested in creative writing, this could be a really
那么第三个营呢，也是最后他介绍的一个营呢，就是这个 Bragg College Simon's Young Writers Workshop， 就是给那些高中生对写作非常感兴趣的同学。那么它一般是3周的一个营，今年的计划呢，希望能够实体上课，但是呢，目前还没有完全确定。如果要转网课的话呢，就会变成一个2周，而且是学费有所降低的一个网上的一个夏令营。那么如果是实体课堂的话呢，每个班大概是12个人左右，是比较小的一个规模。然后每一天的话呢是上3次课，然后每一次课是90分钟，然后其他的时间就会让学生自己写作，并且呢老师就会为学生的写作提供一些反馈和一些意见，就是辅导这样的一个形式。
I did not write that much when I was in school myself, but I did one year do a shorter workshop called the New England Young Writers Conference, and I really liked that. Although that is not running this year because of COVID, so I didn't include it. A couple other things that might be of interest for students who are interested in writing. There's some nice sort of high school and younger focused magazines and contests out there. There's tons of them, but just to highlight a couple. Write the World is cool because it is also like a online community for young writers, I think from all over the world. And they have all kinds of different contests that run regularly where they give you prompts. They have different genres. So there's fiction. I think they have a songwriting contest running right now. There's nonfiction, lots of different cool things. Teen Ink is another one where they have both a magazine, like an actual paper magazine that they print, and they run different contests. And it is edited in part by other teenagers. So that's really neat. You're writing for and working with a community of your peers. And finally, the New York Times has lots of high school focused writing contests in all different areas, not just fiction or journalism, but pretty much everything. They have different themed essays. They have some video stuff that they do contests with. So checking their website and seeing what they have running, and they have these kind of running throughout the year, could be a really cool thing to do.
然后呢 Kat 老师就提到了，就是除了参加夏令营以外呢，可以留意在暑假前后期间的一些写作比赛，那么是由一些本地的比较著名的媒体，或者说鼓励年轻人写作的团队，或者说杂志主办的。那么这里举的3个例子，一个叫做 Write the World 世界写作团体，那么他们会有不同的一些类型的写作，他会给你一些提示和指引，然后一边是让你有一种在指引之下的写作，一边呢就是鼓励你去参加他们举办的写作比赛。那么第二个呢叫做 Teen Ink， 就是说年轻人的墨汁。那么这个是一个实体的杂志社，他们是出版杂志的，那么他们每年会举办年轻人的写作比赛，当然是主要针对10几岁的小孩，那么高中生，那么他们会把获奖者的这些作品会登在他们的杂志上面。那么第三个也是最大型的，就是纽约时报的，每一年会举办各种类型的写作的文体的大型的写作比赛，那么他们每一年都会在网站上去公布，所以呢很适合高中生去参加。那么大家可以到纽约时报的网站上去查询一下详情。
The final thing that I want to say a little bit about, just briefly, is for a lot of programs, when you apply, you might have to write a personal statement. Or if you're thinking about applying to colleges, you will definitely have to write a personal statement. I want to say a couple things about writing a personal essay because I have worked with students writing application essays for many years. I've actually been doing this work since I myself was a freshman in college. It was my first college job, helping write student essays for applications. So just a couple tips to get you started if you're going to be doing this. First, be honest. Don't try to write what you think someone wants to hear. don't play that game. You will probably be wrong, and your reader will tell that you aren't being honest. They'll be able to hear that you're not being genuine, and that's a really big turnoff. So more than anything, be yourself. Write about something that you actually genuinely are really passionate about. Brings me to my second point. The reason you should do this is because if you are not excited about what you are writing, if you find it boring or dull or stressful in some way, your reader's not going to be into it either. So I think a lot of people care more in reading these essays that someone is showing like a genuine interest and enthusiasm for something, that they are saying something about themselves that is personal and true. And that's what matters a lot more than, however impressive what you're going to say may or may not be. And then the final thing, this I think is great advice for all writers of all ages, no matter what you are writing. It's hard, especially these personal essays. I've been doing this for years, and I still, when I have to write one of these for myself, really struggle. It's hard. And so it's going to take you longer than you would like. It's definitely going to take longer than you think. There's going to be more drafts than you would like to write. So start early. Don't procrastinate, and be willing to write a few different ones. Try out a few different approaches, few different topics to see which one is really going to work for you. So those are my personal essay tips for today.
然后呢 ，Kat 老师还给大家就是一个就是关于如何写大学申请文书的一些小 tips， 就是这里有3个要点。那么他自己呢，从自己申请本科开始，就是在写大学文书大学申请文书方面非常有经验。他在大一的时候就开始辅导几乎是同龄人去写大学的申请文书，那么一直到现在是成为一个专业的就是教写作的老师。那么他给大家的3个小 tips 就是说，第一呢，写这些文书的内容以及态度一定要非常的诚恳，不要去假装一个并不是自己的人，不要去尝试猜测对方读者想要看什么，而是真实的展现自己真实的个人，因为这个是就是说录取官他最在乎的就是要看到一个真实的你，所以呢一定要去专注自己最真实的热情所在，以及自己最真实的一个个性的展现。那么第二个呢，就是写的自己的就是为什么对申请的学校或者专业或者一些爱好这么的喜欢，也要表达出一种真情实感，而不是说就是说让对方觉得你在写这篇文书的时候是很有压力的，或者说很不情愿的感觉。因为如果你在写一个自己并不喜欢的一个话题，那么对方看的时候也能感觉到，而且他也不会喜欢你写出来的东西。所以呢，要表现出一种真实的兴趣，要挖掘自己真实的对某些事情或者某个专业的热情。第3点呢，就是无论对谁来说，写大学申请文书都是很难的，哪怕是 Kat 老师自己最近在写自己的介绍的时候，也是遇到了很难的一个时段或者一种感受，因为要介绍自己其实是不容易的。那么而且这个写作的过程要经过多次的修改，所以这个过程往往比我们想象中要更长，所以一定要提前开始准备以及提前开始练习。而且呢 Kat 老师建议大家写不同的几个版本，然后看一下每个版本最适合展示真实的自己，多写多修改总是没错的。
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar, and good luck finding a summer program that is right for you. I think when you find the right one, they are tons of fun, and I hope that you have that kind of great experience.
OK， 那么就谢谢大家 ，Kat 老师祝愿大家呢有一个过得非常有意义，而且呢非常充实、非常好玩、有趣的一个暑假。那么这个就是 Kat 老师给大家录制的一个视频。好，那么我们一会儿在最后的时候呢，是有这个提问环节，所以如果各位对各位讲师有什么问题，请欢迎在聊天栏里面提出，或者在最后的时候，可以举手这样去跟讲师们互动。好，那么现在我们请出第2位讲师，就是 David. So next, we would like to invite David to share your experience and insights about summer program and summer experience. So David is an educator and iBridge focus on K-12 education and boarding school and college advising. He's also a partner with iBridge. So welcome, David. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you all tonight. I'm so encouraged to see close to 300 participants on this call. What a wonderful experience for all of us. So it's an honor for me to be part of the iBridge team and to be part of this webinar on finding valuable summer programs. The truth is that in the United States, there are literally thousands of summer programs, thousands. And it can be a bit overwhelming at times trying to figure out what is the best program for your son and daughter. I come at this topic both as an educator who created and developed and ran summer programs at the schools that I was involved in, but also as the father of two daughters and as a parent helping my daughters find the appropriate summer programs for them. So my questions and comments tonight will be taken from the perspective of both as an experienced educator, but also as a parent who has been through this multiple times over the years.
Yep, I'll translate. So, 那么这位是 David， 那么他呢就是说，首先很荣幸今晚在这里可以跟大家分享，那么也很荣幸是作为 iBridge 的一位伙伴。那么他的经历呢，其实呢也是从一位家长开始的，因为他本来虽然是读教育的，是教育方面的专家，但是在讲到选夏令营或者夏季的课程方面，他最原始的出发点就是他有2个女儿，那么他也要为他的女儿选择暑假的课程。那么在美国呢，暑假的课程是成千以上，就几千个课程，那么有的时候对于家长来说要从中选择呢是非常有难度的一个事情，所以他也很愿意为大家分享自己的经验。Go ahead, David.
So there are many, many valuable questions to ask when considering what's the best summer program for your child. I want to cover 3 of those this evening, and then perhaps later when we have the Q&A, if there's time for more, I'd be happy to share more. But for right now, 3 important questions for parents to ask. I'm assuming you believe, as I do, that our children are our most prized possessions, the things that we care and love most. And so safety is a critical consideration when choosing a program. Whether you're looking at a rural area, as Kat mentioned in her video, the Interlochen Arts Academy in rural Michigan, or if it's in New York City at Columbia University, whether it's a school or a college program, whether it's at a school campus with an academic program, or it's a camp experience, a summer camp experience, safety and security questions are critical. And here is the most important one to ask a program. Who will be providing daily in-person management? Is it senior staff? Is it the most qualified, most experienced, most talented staff? Or is it junior staff or interns or folks that perhaps don't have as much experience?
Yeah. 那么 David 就讲，就是说作为家长来说，在为孩子选择夏令营或者说夏季的项目的时候呢，他通常呢会建议各位呢从3个方面去提问以及去考虑。那么第一个方面呢就是这个课程以及营地的安全性，那么就是因为孩子是我们最珍贵的财产，或者说最珍贵的亲人，所以我们总是希望他参加的营，那么第一要素就是要安全。所以呢，我们在考虑到无论这个是一个全天候的营要住宿的，还是不住宿的营，那么我们都是要看一下到底运营这些营以及管理这些营地或者说这个课程的人是谁，就是他们是有经验的管理者，还是说他们是资深的教育者，还是说只是他们请一些实习生，还是他们请一些学生来做，就是说你要看到他背后去管理的人是谁。Go ahead, David.
You heard Kat use the word passion, and I'd like to bring that word into the conversation again. Passion is absolutely critical to educational development. And so you need, as a parent, to ask the question when you're evaluating summer programs for your children, is this program that we're considering for our son or daughter something that they are truly passionate about? Are they truly passionate about experiencing this to the fullest? You are making a large investment of time and money and human capital in an experience like this, and you want to make sure that your son or daughter is truly invested themselves emotionally and with their interest and with their effort.
那么第二个家长要问的关键问题就是，到底我们选择这个营的所教的东西，或者说他的话题主题，是否是我的孩子真正的有热情去学习，或真正喜欢的话题呢？因为我们投入了时间和金钱去把他们送到这些营里面，那么他们学的这些东西是不是他们真正享受的，是不是真正值得他们用一个暑假的时间去全情投入的？那么换句话来说，你投入的钱和时间是否是能够换来他们一种全身心完全享受和投入的一种学习的体验呢？
And the third question is to ask, how is this program respected by other schools and colleges? In the United States, there is a part of our culture that is overly focused on popularity. And there is a big difference between summer programs that are extremely popular and summer programs that are highly respected. So when you're evaluating what summer program to send your child to, try to ascertain whether that program is merely popular or truly widely respected. And certainly we can help with that.
那么第三个要问的问题就是，到底这个夏令营或者这个课程的被同行认可的认可度有多少？也就是说，它真正的含金量有多少？那么很多时候，在美国有一种文化，就是大家是好像就是说哪个流行，或者说大家是一种羊群效应哦，多人报的，或者说流行的，大家就觉得是好。但是其实流行跟它真的含金量高也许并不是同一回事。所以我们在考察夏令营的时候，我们看这个营到底只是流行，只是很多人在讨论，还是说它真的受到同行的，例如说同级别的大学或者说同级别的学校的认可或者推崇的。那么我们要看到去内行。那么如果您不懂判断的话呢，我们可以为您提供服务去帮你去判断。
At this point, I'd like to emphasize, by example, two well-respected options. And these are two programs that are radically different from each other and are two programs that I've had direct experience with and have a great deal of respect for them. The first is Tulane University. Tulane is a wonderful college in New Orleans, Louisiana, one of the most dynamic cities in the United States. Tulane has a summer program for students grades 6 through 12. And in particular, one of their many programs is a NASA Astro Camp. Students explore how astronomical engineers design robots to discover the suitability of taking humans to Mars. As summer school students, they will investigate the challenges NASA engineers face. They will learn how to program and build Lego Mindstorm robots that will successfully build rovers and navigate a simulated Mars environment. This is a highly academic, highly challenging, technologically based program at Tulane University that, again, is highly respected.
那么接着这个话题，我就想跟大家介绍两个在业内或者说同行的大学当中非常有声誉、非常受到同行推崇的两个项目。那么第一个呢，就是路易斯安那州的杜兰大学的项目。那么这个项目呢是在夏季的时候呢，提供给6到12年级的学生。那么它的特色呢，就是跟美国的就是叫做美国的航空宇航局为主题的一个航空主题的一个夏令营。那么他们的目标呢，就是让学生去探索如何把人从地球送到火星去居住。那么在这个过程中，那么学生会学会很多就是在科学上的知识，在就是学习的过程受到很多的挑战，就是说要挑战他们就要思考怎么解决问题，用高科技去迎接难题，然后包括就是用乐高来拼一个机器人呐，设计机器人呐这样的，然后在一种模拟的外太空 空的环境当中去工作或去学习，或者说去步行等等的这些环境，让他们呢就是大大的去享受和探索学习科学的这样的一种体验。
So the previous example I gave of the NASA camp at Tulane is radically different from the next example I'll use, which is Camp Treetops at the North Country School in Lake Placid, New York. For those of you that follow the history of the Winter Olympics, Lake Placid has hosted 2 Olympics in 1932 and 1980. It is an incredibly beautiful, stunningly peaceful area of upstate New York in the Adirondack Mountains. It is an old-fashioned summer camp for children 8 to 14 years old. North Country School owns 220 acres of mountains, lakes, working farms, and many barns filled with animals. This program is a technology-free program that allows its students to enjoy the outdoors, to enjoy nature, and to take a very simple look at life after a very busy school year. An outstanding program.
第二个主题呢，完全跟刚才那个高科技为主的主题的项目相反。那么它是在纽约上周的一个叫做树顶夏令营。那么它完全是以就是就是室外环境和室外运动作为主题的。那么这个地方呢，是在1932年和1980年都举行过冬季的奥运会。那么叫做普莱西德湖的一个很美丽的一个室外的很空旷的一个地方。那么它的面积呢，涵盖了220英亩的这个山啊、湖啊，还有农场啊，还有天然的这些动物啊、农庄啊等等的环境。那么喜欢就说让孩子在一个紧张的1年学习之后，能够放松、享受以及学会欣赏大自然的这样的体验，学习去欣赏生活的简单生活的美的这样的一种体验的家长呢，就很适合去把孩子送到这个营。
And finally, I would just love to share one story to emphasize the concept of fit. You know your child better than anyone, and we want to help you find the right fit for your child. So I'd like to tell you the story of my own daughter, my oldest daughter, Maddie, who's 25 years old. She was extremely interested in Georgetown University and went to Georgetown summer school as a young high school student. She was focused on Georgetown, and Georgetown was it, the only option. That's where she was going to go to summer program, because that's where she wanted to go to college, and wasn't as open-minded about other options. What she found after going to the summer program was just down the street, closer to downtown, right near the White House, was an amazing university, George Washington University. She ended up taking the less traveled path and working in the summer at George Washington University, and ultimately matriculating at George Washington. There were far more opportunities for internships on Capitol Hill, in the White House, and in other agencies in downtown Washington, D.C. Maddie took a different path than she originally planned. It was a path that was a better fit for her. And ultimately now at age 25, that path choice that she took, which was a better fit, has worked out marvelously for her. At age 25, she's a veteran of 2 presidential campaigns and 1 Senate campaign, and is the executive director of a prominent political organization in Washington, D.C. And it all goes back to that summer experience of finding the right fit for what she was passionate about and what she was interested in pursuing. Thanks so much for letting me share with you, and I welcome your questions.
那么最后呢 ，David 就想跟大家分享他女儿的一个从小就是一个选择了一个夏令营就决定了一生的成功的一个故事。就是他很小的时候，他就很向往呢要考上 Georgetown， 是一个非常有名的一个大学。那么他很向往，但是呢，他却意外的发现，原来离家不远的一个叫做 George Washington 乔治华盛顿大学的一个大学里面有就是夏天的实习项目。那么他就是参加了这个就是这个学校的夏天的实习，他发现原来这个学校有更多的让他能够参与在首都地区的一些政治活动啊，或者说就是说培养年轻人参政议政的能力的一些实习的机会和锻炼的机会。所以呢，他就是觉得就是也许这个并不是最出名的大学更适合他，那么于是他就决定放弃自己的理想，就是说不考那个更出名的，而是选择一个更适合自己的爱好和适合自己的个体情况的一个学校。那么最后呢，他就是进入了这个大学，成为一位大学生。那么现在他已经25岁，但是呢，他是年轻有为。他在华盛顿这个首都的地区参加了2次总统竞选团里面的得力的助手，参加了1次这个州议员的这个竞选团的助手。那么现在也是在华盛顿地区在政治团体里面非常活跃、非常成功的一位年轻人的代表。那么这个故事就是告诉我们呢，从小呢，与其选最好的，还不如选最适合自己的。也许选对一次呢，就决定了一个孩子终生的成功。好，那么这个就是 David 跟大家分享的内容一会儿也欢迎大家提问。那么我现在呢，就是介绍下一位的讲师，就是 Zoe。好，那么Zoe的话呢，可以用中文给我们发言。那么，他也是跟我们分享一下他在做在这个夏令营或者说夏天的这个教授课程方面的一些经历。那么，我们就有请Zoe。
好，大家好，可以看到我吗？可以把这个 slide 先放下去吗？哦，对，大家好，非常高兴今天能够来参加 iBridge 的，和大家分享如何选择夏校。那我自己呢，在关于夏校整一个营运以及和学校的合作关系当中，已经工作了将近有10多年了，所以我今天呢，很乐意和大家来分享一下。我首先非常认同刚才 David 老师说的几点。那对于他的第1点讲到了 safety 安全有一点点补充，因为确实安全是非常重要，尤其是对于国外的孩子过来，在这里没有亲人，或者说对医疗系统不是很了解。那在美国的夏令营当中，像 David 老师说过，真的是成千上万。我每年去参加 ACA American Camp Association 大会，有上千的这些营地的主管来参加交流来讨论。那如果大家要选择寄宿营的话，因为美国很多6年级以上的孩子，他都会去参加寄宿营，4个星期、6个星期或者8个星期，是非常非常普遍的。在寄宿营的这些营地选择上，我会强烈建议看看它是不是 ACA American Camp Association 有没有它的认证。American Camp Association 是全美国最大的一个营地，就是一个营地的机构，它每一年会派出很专业的人士去不同的夏令营，当然有些夏令营其实它是1年都在做，并不一定并不只是夏令营，所以他会每年定期的去检查，从他们的硬件、软件、老师的简历，包括细致到老师所有他的背景，去看他的涉安的背景，比如说他以前有没有犯罪记录啊，有没有任何的嗑药的记录等等，非常非常的详细。我自己在帮助一些学校走认证过程，这是1年的一个过程，所以一旦这些营地，尤其是寄宿营，能够拿到 ACA 的认证的话，它是一个安全，我觉得从安全质量上的一个巨大的保证。所以如果我在选择的话， 选择如果是走读营是日营的话，我觉得没有 ACA 的认证还会好一些。但是如果是寄宿营的话，我会强烈推荐看看它有没有 ACA 的认证。那在美国的很多营地，尤其是寄宿营地，他们真的是有70几年、100年，甚至150年以上的历史。我走访过很多，包括我知道我的家人，他们3代都会去同一个营地，就相当于在过去的40年、50年去同一个营地，从他5年级的时候就开始，先从他，因为很多营地他的年龄跨度很大嘛，他比如说小孩子可能1年级到5年级他是走读，然后6年级以上是寄宿，然后越来越大，他的项目会越来越多，所以我身边的一些家人，他们是从小就去，先从走读，然后从寄宿，然后甚至到了15、16岁的时候，又变成了营地的工作人员，最后又变成了营地的这个董事会的会员。所以真的是40年、50年会跟一些营地会有长期的一些非常深厚的这种友谊。那第二点就是刚才第一点讲了安全，第二点我想对于孩子他培养出来的一种友谊，因为对于很多美国孩子来说，其实也有很多欧洲的孩子，包括加拿大的孩子也会来参加美国的营地。他夏令营，美国的夏令营做得非常非常的成熟，他们整一个营运、整一个活动设计，包括与时俱进和社会的一些社会事件的一些联系是。这个脉搏是把得非常非常准的，所以很多孩子他，比如说他辛苦了，一个学年，他一到差不多6月的第3个星期、第4个星期就会去参加他的这个营地，很多是他就像我刚才从6年级开始就不断的参加同一个营地，他所产生的友谊，并不是说这些孩子只是在夏天会见面，因为我发现很多这些孩子他可能留下。就是联系方式之后，他可能冬天也会一起去滑雪，或者说春天的时候举家会一起去夏威夷啊，或者说去海外度假。我看到过这些友谊真的是非常非常的深厚。从一个比较现实角度来说，当这些学生进入大学，当这些学生进入研究院，当这些学生之后走入社会，他的这一个人脉，从他夏令营带进来的人脉，我觉得甚至比他学校的人脉还要深厚，因为他是在一个比较玩的一个过程当中，他不是像学校的一种竞争的学业的竞争当中，所以呢，他的这个人脉我觉得更单纯、更深厚，他的关系会更紧密。这是我在现实生活当中看到过很多组。我问他你们都是什么时候在哪里在认识？说我们一起去夏令营很多很多年。好，这是我讲的第2个，就是友谊。所以第1个是安全，第2个是友谊。那第3个呢，就是在选择。就像刚才 David 老师说，关于孩子的兴趣，我觉得确实是兴趣是太重要，因为美国的夏令营它的分的种类非常非常多，可以你想找到的任何一种。因为比如说我自己在特殊教育领域工作了很多年，那我会接触到很多自闭症，接触到很多需要特殊教育服务的这些家庭，这些学生，从海外的，从美国本土的特别是纽约本土的，那他们就会专门去一些特殊教育的这样的一些夏令营，去帮助他们，无论是学业上还是生理健康各方面帮助他们。那到了他们9月份再回到学校的时候呢，他就很容易能够和正常发育的这些同龄学生能够跟得上他们的节奏，而不会夏天一下子放了9个星期或者8个星期，又造成了一个巨大的一个我们叫 summer slide， 就是夏天会造成无论是学业上还是身心健康还是体能上的一个退化吧。所以对孩子的兴趣真的是一定要很了解。我的建议是在6年级以前，如果孩子小的话，可以每一年试试看不同种类。我说的不同种类不一定是不同的一个学校，因为很多夏令营它自身下面就分了很多种类，比如说这个夏令营它下面可能会有5到12种 不同的科目。那可能小的时候呢，每一年去换一个不同的科目，比如说从他的戏剧营啊，可能第2年甚至一个夏天8个星期可以2个星期换一组，但是是同一个夏令营的营地。等到他到了5年级、6年级之后，孩子包括他自身的兴趣也比较清晰了，包括家长对孩子也更了解了，对他的适应能力啊，比如说他能不能去那一种不插电的，就是完全没有电、没有现代生活的这样的营地，他能不能去适应？那可以选择这方面的营地。所以孩子的兴趣非常重要。那刚才 David 老师也讲到了这个 NASA， 其实我自己也在给我孩子看，佛州的 Kennedy Space Center， 包括他每一年都有8到9个星期是专门帮助孩子就是学习关于space rocket 火箭啊等等方面的一些非常非常具象的一些内容。我自己看的也很受感动，我自己都在想，因为我住在纽约，我就在想，那我可以找几个夏天是搬到佛州去住1个月，或者说6个星期，陪我孩子让他去上这样的营地。所以在选择的时候，刚才我讲的第3点就是兴趣。那第4个呢，我就很快的介绍2个我觉得会很有意思的，就是不一定我们家长会马上会想到去参加，但我觉得很有意思。第一个呢是 Boys Nation，这个呢它其实是为了培养美国日后的总统，或者说培养美国日后的参议员、参政、两院各方面的这些国家领袖，它完全是按照国会，比如说两个参议员的这么一种选择方法，他每一个州50个州，他会选2个男生，然后100个学生，让他们夏天到白宫到华盛顿，然后让他们模拟，就是如果说你从纽约来的2个学生，或者说你从加州来的2个学生，你完全模拟你州的代表，然后整一个夏天跟着白宫里面的工作人员跟着他们走一下，看如果将来你长大成人之后真的也去作为参议员众议院的话，你的工作是什么，你能够为社会带来什么服务。所以我觉得这个非常有意思，它一个是 Boys Nation， 还有一个是 Girls Nation， 是一个女生版的。那还有一个呢我觉得也很有意思，大家不妨也可以考虑一下，就是Disney， 我想 Disney 这个名字大家已经很熟悉了。其实它也有自己的夏令营，它夏令营也分各种各样。其中有一个我觉得很有意思的是商业管理，因为如果大家对于迪士尼的商业模式有了解的话，其实它是一个运营非常非常成功的一个巨无霸的一个很超强的这么一个大企业。他在夏天的时候，其实也不只是夏天，他1年4季都有课程给中学生、高中生。他迪士尼的高管或者说中层管理人员去教这些学生怎么样做运营管理，怎么样做比如说社交媒体的传播啊，等等等等。他每一年都会与时俱进，每一年按照当年的一些商业计划，怎么做商业计划，怎么客户体验等等。我觉得这个就是非常非常有兴趣。当然整一个美国的夏令营非常非常多，我们不可能在短短10分钟当中推荐所以我再三强调一下，就是安全看 ACA 的认证，第2个是培养友谊第3个是按照孩子的兴趣所以希望大家呢能够为自己的孩子找到更适合的夏令营。谢谢。
谢谢 Zoe，Thank you so much。好，如果各位有问题的话呢，可以在一会儿 Q&A 的环节里面向几位提问。好，那么下一位我们要分享的讲师呢，就是 John。Hi，so 这是 John 的介绍。那么 John 呢，他也是iBridge Education 的资深的顾问。那么他本身是哈佛大学的前任的面试官。那么他也是有10年以上的顾问的经验。就是对指导关于 STEM 和商业方面的学生有非常丰富的经验。那么他今天呢也会为我们讲到在夏季对于学生来说有哪些选择。Okay, so please welcome John. Go ahead.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. John Gardizzi. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. So just a quick background on me. I'm sure you heard a little bit in Chinese about who I am. So I graduated from Harvard in 2009. I am a former interviewer for the Harvard College Office of Admissions, and I have over 10 years experience in college admissions counseling, with a strong emphasis helping Chinese and Chinese American families. So it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. And so as I start my portion of our talk today, I want to first mention why summer planning is important. So the reason summer planning is important is, summers are really a rare and unstructured time for high school students to build their resumes. You typically don't have the pressure of schoolwork, activities that typically follow the academic calendar. You have downtime. And so you can use this time strategically to build your profile. You can also address any academic issues and develop your strengths during summer breaks. And so oftentimes what students do during breaks is take classes online, take classes at local community colleges and universities. And what we've seen, particularly with COVID, is lots of students taking advantage of online service providers like Coursera, edX. For some of the students who are really interested in more high school tailored classes, we've seen students take advantage of BYU, the Florida Virtual School. So these platforms really help students build their academic profiles while they're away from school. And from a college admissions perspective, come senior year, when you've used your summer strategically, it really sets you apart in the college application process. And so that's why, as a college admissions counselor, I spend a great deal of time with my students talking about what they should be doing in their summers.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I will translate that. So 我先讲一下，那么 John 呢，他也做了一下自我介绍，就是他是09年在哈佛毕业的学生，那么他呢从此又成为了正式的哈佛的面试官那么他在就是这个帮助很多的这个华裔家庭的孩子或者说就是在美国出生的华人的小孩在入学方面呢做了很多的贡献和做了很多的经验哈。那么他今天讲到的就是说要智慧的运用夏季这个过程，因为呢夏天呢是大家在美国的孩子的话没有功课做的一个时间，那么他们相对是比较自由的，所以呢学校呢不会做什么官方的一些安排，所以呢很多学生呢就是会利用夏天呢去补缺补漏，补习一下自己在整一年的学习当中一些需要提高的地方。那么更重要的是为自己的这个就是经历或者说学历或者说自己的实力打造一个更坚实的一个基础。例如说有什么兴趣爱好啊，在夏天的时候可以充分的发挥，或者说在学业上哪些科目特别喜欢的，也可以利用夏天呢去更加突飞猛进。那么由于今年疫情的关系呢，就是有很多的这些夏季的课程都会转为网上，所以也是大家利用这些网课的一个很好的时机。往年的话你还要去当地，但是今年有很多的家庭都打算运用这些网上的资源，那么他也提到了几个主要的一些就是在网上提供辅导和学习的一些平台，大家可以如果可以打出来的话就可以大家可以去参考一下。那么还有就是如果你是进入到即将申请大学的年段，例如说高中最后那2年的学生，那么在夏天的时候呢更加要把握时机去帮助自己申请大学呢做好准备，因为 John 他也是很有经验的，就是做高中升大学的一个辅导或者说咨询的一个咨询官，所以呢他在这方面强烈推荐各位呢要利用暑假为申请大学做准备。 Hi John.
Great. So, as we talk about summer, it's really important to think about what your options are. So the first option that I spoke briefly about earlier was, community college and college courses. And these are a great way to build your academic profile. What we've seen in recent years is a shift away from students taking classes at local community colleges and universities to platforms that I mentioned. So the second option is, using Coursera, edX, BYU, the Florida Virtual School. These platforms are really great because their classes tend to be very high quality. In the case of Coursera and edX, what we've seen is, the opportunity to take classes and get certificates of completion for courses at, top name universities. Some of the universities that you're interested in applying to, like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Penn, etc. And then, of course, with BYU and the Florida Virtual School, you have the opportunity to take courses online and also receive letter grades on a transcript that you can then use to submit to colleges. So those are great. Today, what I'll mostly focus on is summer programs, which is really the third option you have. So we'll talk a bit today about some of the different summer programs you can be looking at. And then some of the other things you can look at, internships are great. So lots of my students, particularly those going into senior year, are spending time over the summer working with a professor on an independent research project. And so internships are great, particularly when you want to get a letter of recommendation from an outside recommender. Internships are very helpful. And then the last two things that you can do really are, volunteering and working a job. So volunteering is great. And many students wonder how much time they should be spending on volunteering. Volunteering, I consider to be one of the most underrated aspects of a student's profile. And particularly if you can make a difference in your local community, it looks great from a college admissions perspective. And summer is a great time to volunteer. And then finally, jobs. So sometimes students and parents come to me wondering if having a summer job is worthwhile. And, perhaps my perspective is a bit contrarian. I have found jobs to be useful in terms of highlighting, communication, teamwork, maturity. And so I have some students who, let's say, spend a summer working in a restaurant that's owned by their family, or they're working, just jobs like a convenience store, or they're working for their school doing some sort of tasks. And so I think jobs can be great. And so they should definitely be considered in terms of building out your profile. But those are the 6 key areas, key things I should say, that you can focus on for your summer.
好，然后下一个内容就是我们到底在夏天都想可以做些什么呢？其实有6大方面的考虑。第一就是有很多的学生会利用暑假的时候到本地的一些社区大学，或者说到一些大学里面参加一些预科的课程，或者说一些暑假的课程，有利于自己能够升上大学之后更好的过渡。那么现在有一个很越来越明显的趋势，就是转为网上。那么这里有几个平台叫Coursera、edX、BYU， 还有他刚才讲的 Flow of Virtual School， 这些都是一些网上提供课程的平台。那么大家可以选择，甚至呢，就是这些平台当中有一些呢，你上完课之后，他会给你发结业证书，然后这些结业证书会受到这些哈佛啊、耶鲁啊、宾州大学等等名校的认可，甚至有一些课程呢，结业的时候呢，他会给你出成绩表。那么本身申请大学也需要出示，就是某些课程或者说高中或者说预科课程的成绩表，所以这些都会对申请大学有帮助。那么第3个选择就是夏天的一些学习项目，那么一会儿会讲到。那么第4个选择就是夏天的实习计划。那么有一些比较聪明的学生，他就会利用升高3、升高4，就是最后一年高中之前的那个暑假，去大学里面找一些教授，跟他们一起合作，或者说帮助教授完成一些科研的项目。这样的话呢，教授到时候在你申请大学的时候，也许可以为你写推荐信，而且呢，跟大学教授合作实习呢，也是一个为你申请大学很好的一个经历。那么第5个选择就是做义工。那么到底做多少时间的义工是有意义的呢？那么很多人都没有想到做义工也为你申请大学是很有好处，因为做义工的话能够特别是在本地社区做一些有意义的事情，或者说一些对社区有用的一些项目的话呢，那么很多名校在录取的时候，他很看重一个学生对社区的贡献。那么最后一个选择就是打工。那么有的家长说，到底用暑假来打工值得吗？那么答案就是说，取决于打什么类型的工。如果你只是在自己家里餐馆打工，或者说帮助学校做一些项目，那么也许意义不大。但是呢，如果你去打的那份工对你就是提升你的成熟度，提升你的沟通能力，提升你的团队精神等等，那么这些都是进入大学之后非常有用的一些能力，或者说在申请大学的时候面试官或者说录取官很看重的一些能力。那么这样的一种工呢，就是值得打的。Go ahead, John.
Perfect. So what are the things, one of the questions I get often is what to consider when picking a summer program. So the first consideration should be leadership. So students who are developing themselves as leaders, particularly in 9th and 10th grade, may benefit from a camp that can help them build their leadership skills. So regardless of what they want to study. So for instance, the Yale Young Global Scholars program is a great leadership program for students really interested in almost any major. Penn, specifically the Wharton School of Business, has leadership in the business world. And it's really great because kids get to develop their leadership skills. Additionally, you may want to think about programs that are enrichment focused. So if you specifically want to focus on a certain activity, be it debate, writing, or math, you want to pick programs that are aligned with those interests. The other thing to consider, and I think it's actually a bit more important than even enrichment, is preparation for a college major. Okay, so these types of opportunities that focus on developing, your interests, let's say in science or business or law, are incredibly helpful for students. So you can certainly consider that as a criterion. And then, another question that I also get is, what makes a good summer program? So there are lots of things to consider. Price points, how much money are you going to be spending on this program? So depending on the program, it may or may not make sense. Another thing to consider are the admit rates. So how competitive is the program? And then logistics, and particularly during this time of COVID, like, will you be on campus? Will you be remote? So these are some of the things to consider. From what I've seen, typically programs that require transcripts, that require essays and recommendation letters, and include university faculty should be considered more reputable and competitive.
那么下面就看一下，就是在选择夏令营的时候要就是说持哪些标准。那么有几样是很看重的。第一个呢，就是有很多的夏令营是以领导力为主题的，就是培养领导力的夏令营。例如说耶鲁年轻人全球学者夏令营，那么它是培养就是耶鲁商学院主办的，那么是培养年轻人就是在一个商业运作的环境当中的领导力。那么也许他以后对商科或者说在商业管理方面有兴趣，那么这种营呢，就是会对他很有帮助。那么通常是9和10年级的学生，启发他们打造自己的领导力。那么第二个呢，就是对于他们的学习生涯的一种丰盛的一种体会。例如说他本身在学校里面对写作很感兴趣，对数学很感兴趣，对辩论很感兴趣。那么利用暑假的时候，就更加充分的去发挥他们这方面的兴趣，作为一种课外活动，作为他们额外的一种特长的能力，给他们就是把这个能力再发挥到一个更高的层次。第三个就是考虑到可以用夏令营为自己申请大学，跟自己以后希望进入大学的专业做准备。例如说我以后读大学打算读科学类，或者说商科，还是说读法律，那么就可以利用高中时候的夏令营去培养这方面的能力和视野。那么有人就会问我说，我怎么知道一个夏令营是好还是不好呢？那么有几个方面的考虑。第一就是看它的价位，就是说是不是就是说就是值得你付出的那个成本。那么你到底付这个钱，你换来的是有含金量的一些教育的机会。那么第二就是看它的录取率，有多少人申请，对比它最后录取了多少人，来看它的这种含金量和它的竞争度。第三就是实际上的一种可行性，例如说他要亲身到校园上课呢，还是目前特别是今年都是网课呢，都要考虑到它的可行性的问题。那么总体来说，一般在申请夏令营的时候，如果这个项目或者说这个夏季学习的项目要求学生提交推荐信、提交成绩单、提交特别是这些夏令营里面的教职员工有大学教授的参与的话，那么总体来说，这样的一些学习项目是比较有含金量的。Go ahead.
Okay. So before we talk about specific programs, some considerations you should have for summer opportunities are as follows. In terms of pre-college programs, the programs that you'll see offered by universities like Harvard, Columbia, USC, UCLA, These are typically quite expensive, and they are usually first come, first serve. And we're seeing that for this summer. So these programs, while they have maybe, in particularly the case of Harvard and Columbia, a high brand name, they're not necessarily going to differentiate you as a high school student. As I say that, I would still consider these programs, particularly if you're going into, let's say, 9th, 10th grade, and you're not really sure what you want to do. So you don't have to pay a lot of money and go to these programs. But if you feel like you're not sure about what to do in a summer, or you really feel like you want to learn more about some different subjects, attending one of these programs can be great. Summer programs that offer hands-on experiences, particularly in the area of research, are usually considered the best programs because they really prepare students for their prospective major. So look for hands-on experiences. Also look for programs that are longer in length. So for instance, you might see programs that are a week in length versus, let's say, a month, or even, they may be an entire summer. The general rule of thumb that I've seen is that the longer the program, the more significant it tends to be in a student's profile. So all things considered, try to look for programs that are longer. Another thing to consider is the sort of residential versus commuter kind of option. And typically, if a program is residential versus or commuter, it doesn't really matter. But one thing that I've seen is that if you're interested in that particular school and there is a residential option, the fact that you're going to spend time in a dorm, that you're going to use campus facilities, that will really show that you have an enthusiasm for college and will help you build your confidence as a future college student. So I think look at, consider, residential versus commuter when it comes to where you want to go to school, like what schools are your dream schools. And if you can, stay on that campus, great. If in your local area, you're probably going to have to just stay at home and, commute, that's fine too. And on a final point, try to find programs that are unique. So recently I got a question from a student asking if a particular program, which I will not name, would be valuable to her. And when she gave me the name and I looked at the website, it looked like it was something that, it was a for-profit summer program. It wasn't through a university or a foundation. So these types of programs are focused more on making a profit over offering you a quality educational experience. And over 10 years, over my more than 10 years of experience, I've been able to see which programs are high quality versus which programs are more for a foundation to make money. So be wary of going for programs that are profit driven.
然后呢，我们在选这个夏令营或者说夏天的项目的时候，有几样是John 老师给大家的建议。那么第一就是这种就是预科类或者说大学前的一些预科的夏天的项目，是由一些非常顶级的名校组织，例如说哈佛啊、哥伦比亚大学呀、UCLA 啊、USC 南加州大学等等哈。那么尤其是对于9到10年级的学生来说，他们可能还不是很清楚以后自己想读什么专业，或者是想做什么，也不知道自己的爱好在哪里的时候，那么他们可以选择读这些名校的这些项目去体验一下，以及打一个基础。但是呢，就是这些名校因为有这个名誉在，所以他们的要价会很高，所以还是要看自己是否能够负担得起，以及通常是很热门，就是说谁报名，然后名满了就报名就停止。所以呢就是如果你能负担得起这些学费的话，送他们去打个基础，体验一下名校生活是很好，但是不一定觉得说名校的就一定比一般学校的要好多少，其实没有太大区别，所以是取决于你的经济的负担能力。第二个就是要尽量找一些能够实体操作，有很多让他们实操的经验的一些夏令营，而不是单纯是学理论知识。因为就是说例如说动手做实验啊等等，这样的一些动手的经验对于他们的实际的能力的提升很有帮助。第三就是夏令营的长短，那么1个星期的夏令营跟1个月的夏令营相比，1个月的一定比1个星期的更好，因为 我们相信1个月他能学到的东西更多，所以1个月的夏令营的含金量会更高。那么就是还有就是住宿营跟不住宿的相比的话呢，住宿营会更加占优势，因为你如果给这个大学的申请的时候，给面试官看到你有曾经住宿在大学的校园里面的夏令营的经验，他会感觉你这个学生呢已经体验过校园住宿的生活，以及呢真的是喜欢上大学的这种体验，那么就比你每天回家的那种夏令营更好，而且呢也能够让学生真正的感受到住在学校里面读大学的生活是什么样的，是否适合他等等。那么最后就是选择适合自己的，而不是一定是最好的那么就是适合，尤其是考虑到自己就是住在哪里啊，或者说自己的兴趣爱好啊，以及自己的特色，要选择一些体现自己个人特色非常适合的，而不是说越贵越好。尤其是一些以赚钱为目的的夏令营呢，要是最好是不要去选择。Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. And I just wanted to address one question. So the last point I made was around nonprofit versus profit-oriented. What you may want to do is, if you literally Google any of these like for-profit places, one of the things that I see is that they're usually from very low-ranked universities. Maybe you've never even heard of them, and they don't really showcase the work of students. And so there's a quality, there's difference in terms of the quality of what they're presenting, and that's a good rule of thumb. And also, if you're not sure, it really does help to ask a seasoned college counselor, and then he or she can help you make that distinction. So what I want to do now is just jump into some good programs. So the first program I want to talk about is type of program is that just generally good academic programs. So two that I typically recommend for my students are the Telluride Association Summer Program. Now, one thing to kind of keep in mind is that this summer, they're actually not going to have anything going on. But I think for students that aren't, let's say, rising seniors, you can certainly look into this program. It's a 6-week program at campuses across the U.S. And typically you're working with a professor, and you're going through a seminar and analyzing the subject matter for the seminar. So it can be anything related to the humanities, to the sciences, to really almost any subject you can think of. And typically this program, the Telluride Association Summer Program, TASP, only takes about 5% of applicants. So very competitive, and it's also a great program. The other general academic program that I like is the Yale Young Global Scholars. So I mentioned it before. It's a very strong academic enrichment program. And typically you have students from over 130 countries coming to the Yale campus and participating in a 2-week session. And so you have typically 4 tracks you can pick from: innovation in science and technology, literature, philosophy and culture, politics, law and economics, and then solving global challenges. So what's great is you have a wide range of fields. It's located on the Yale campus, and it's for 2 weeks. And so these are 2 sort of stellar programs. Of course, there are many other programs, but these 2 I think would be great options for many students.
Yep. So John, considering time, we might need to be more brief. Sorry. So I will translate in a more brief ways too. Sorry to cut you short. 那么他就是他会推荐一些比较他欣赏的一些项目。那么第一个就是泰刘瑞德，我们都会在这个栏里面打出来这些名。We would like to type the names of these programs so people can find them. 就是一个6周的一个项目。那么对于就是学术上来说有很大的帮助。第二个是推荐就是耶鲁年轻人全球学者计划，是一个2周的一个营，那么是对于商学或者说文科政治方面有兴趣的学生也是非常有用。Go ahead, John.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll hop into sort of the other programs that I wanted to mention. So for STEM, there are 3 programs that I'd like to recommend. So the first one is the Research Science Institute, RSI, which is offered through MIT. I have a decent number of students applying for this summer. So you're on the MIT campus and you're able to do an individual research project under the mentorship of faculty and graduate students. So a terrific program. Another program is the Summer Science Program, SSP. So similarly, it's a research program. You have classwork and lab sessions as well. And so this is another phenomenal program. And then the third program I want to mention, and it's a little less competitive, but still very high quality, is the Research in Science and Engineering program at BU, so the BU RISE program. So it's 6 weeks. They offer a residential option, and it's really a great way for rising seniors to get involved in actual research opportunities. So I'll pause, and then I'll go on to business.
那么就是在 STEM 方面，科学类，他推荐3个，一个是由麻省理工大学组织的科学项目夏令营，第二个呢是叫 SSP， 那么是39天的一个专门做科学实验的夏令营，第三个呢是波士顿大学的叫做 RISE， 也是专门做理科理科类科学类的一个夏令营，6周的一个夏令营。Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. And then the last set of programs, so for business and economics, you've got the Bank of America Student Leaders Program. So this is for rising juniors and seniors, a very competitive program where you participate in a 1-week summit, and then you do a paid internship for another 7 weeks. So this is great for students wanting to go into business. There's also leadership in the business world, which is open to sophomores and juniors. And so it's really great from a team building perspective. And also it helps you build relationships with Wharton professors, also with visiting business leaders who come to campus and introduce students to different aspects of the business world. And then finally, there's LaunchX. And recently I got some good news that one of my students was accepted into the LaunchX program. They only take 18% of applicants. And it's a program focused on entrepreneurship. So students go through workshops, lectures, simulations, etc. It happens at various campuses around the country, and it's 4 weeks long. It's a phenomenal program, and I think it would be great for many students who are interested in entrepreneurship.
Great. So 最后就是讲到商科类，他推荐3个夏令营，一个叫做美国银行学生领导者夏令营，那么是一个8周为期，但是其实只有1周的学习加7周的带薪的实习机会的一个夏令营，那么很适合那些想进入商界的学生。第二个叫做 Leadership in the Business World， 就是商界领导者夏令营，适合高2、高3的学生，是为期4周的。最后一个叫做 LaunchX， 那么它的入学率只是18%，那么它主要是培养学生的创业经验，为期是4周。I think our time's up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Maple. So maybe we need to wrap up a little bit because it's close to 11. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's close to 11, so we need to wrap up a little bit. But thank you so much, John, for the wonderful, sharing all the information with us. And so close to the Q&A sessions, I want to leave a little bit time for the audience to ask questions. 好，那大家好，我是 iBridge Education 负责人 Julia 小燕。非常感谢我们来到这里听我们讲座的各位观众哈，那么也非常感谢咖啡俱乐部的团队呢，给我们提供这么好的一个平台，来一起合作这次讲座，也非常感谢我们今天的团队成员，我们的资深的顾问John、David、Zoe and Kat 这4位 speaker 来跟我们一起分享。那么我来简单总结一下我们4位 speaker 分享的内容哈，因为有些观众可能晚一点来。那看老师主要分享了他高中时参加过的夏校，也介绍了适合高中生参加的创意写作、艺术主题的美国夏校及写作竞赛。如果需要更多的这个资讯的话呢，可以稍后联系我们。David 先生则更多从家长和校长的角度来考虑如何给孩子，像8到16岁的孩子选择更适合的夏校，尤其是考虑到从 safety, passion and respect 几个方面呢，来进行夏校的选择和升学案例的一个分析。周易给我们分享了广受国际学生中学生喜爱的夏校项目。John 呢给我们介绍了非常好的北美高质量的科研导师项目等等。那我们的顾问团队呢 iBridge Education 的顾问团队 美高、美本申请、顶尖夏校申请方面是非常有经验的。那这次讲座呢，我们也希望能够帮助到在北美和中国的家长和孩子，当你们在选择夏校的时候，可以咨询我们，并且呢，也希望大家能够成功的申请非常优质的夏校项目，能够助力你们的美高、美本的申请。好，那我们呢也特别推出了美国夏校的这个申请和咨询服务。我们的服务内容呢就包括藤校前招生官录制的视频，指导如何选择夏校，这是第一个部分。第二个部分呢就30分钟到1个小时，和我们的美国藤校前招生官进行1对1的夏校申请咨询。那我们的招生官呢会根据您孩子未来的升学目标，来为您孩子分析和挑选适合的夏校项目，发掘孩子的潜力，以及提高申请美高或美本的录取。然后最后一个部分呢，是我们的藤校写作老师，像 Kat 老师带领的这个写作团队来指导孩子的这个文书的申请的写作。好，那整个服务呢，我们是由4到5人团队来进行这个夏校的申请的辅助的。那有兴趣的家长和同学们呢，可以填写我们夏校申请咨询表，就是最左边这个报名链接，大家扫一下。那么也欢迎大家选择在填表的时候选这个咖啡俱乐部有机会会获得我们的这个服务优惠的价格。那么如果需要单独咨询我们的，欢迎大家扫码中间是我们国内的联系方，右边是我们北美的联系方，或者是发邮件给我们info@ibridgeeducation.com。好，那谢谢大家。那现在呢，我们来进入我们的 Q&A 环节，好不好？因为现在我知道已经是很晚了哈，那我们就给大概5到10分钟的时候给大家提问，好吗？那提问环节我们看是怎么样的？是我直接从 chat box 去找，还是大家可以说出来？我可以先选一个哈，OK。So I will choose one questions. So I think one student asked about a camp, specific camps. Okay, 来看一下 Let me check. Oh, maybe David, do you remember any students' questions? Any audience questions that you would like to answer?
There were questions early on in the chat that may be lost a little further up. One in particular asking about astrophysics. And I would recommend 2 possibilities, the California Institute of Technology as well as the Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey.
好的。那刚刚就是David 先生回答了一位观众的提问哈，就是提一下这个和物理天文方面的这个夏校。那么 David 先生呢，他说的有2个选择哈，一个是加州理工大学的他们有非常好的这样的一个 program， 还有呢在新泽西的叫 Steven 这个理工大学，Steven 科技大学。好，那么我们看一下，我们每个嘉宾问一个问题。Zoe, do you remember any audience questions you would like to answer? I think someone asked about the Disney camp. Or like
这个其实网上只要 Google 一下 Disney Summer Camp， 然后按照它的时间，还有按照它的年级，就是因为它也分孩子，比如说中学和高中这个还是挺容易搜索的。
好，谢谢。And John, we have a lot of questions for you too. Do you want to pick any questions to answer from the chat box?
Okay, yeah. So I think for let's see, somebody mentioned there was a question around the 3 programs. So just to clarify, the MIT program is the Research in Science Institute. So that's RSI. That's the acronym you'll hear a lot. There's also the Summer Science Program, SSP, which is at various campuses. And then there's the BU Research in Science Engineering, BU RISE. Now I know there was another question around astrophysics. So the Yale Summer Program in Astrophysics, I've put it into the chat box. My student who got into Yale early this year attended that program. He wrote about the program in his Yale application. So as I mentioned before, if there are programs at specific universities you want to go to, then it does make sense to kind of consider that program. So good recommendation.
Thank you so much. So I will translate very briefly. 那我们的 John 先生呢就回答了一位观众有关这个也是推荐这个像天文物理方面的这个 program 哈，他加了一点就是像 MIT 也有比较好的这个理科方面的这个科学方面的这个 program， 还有波士顿大学有工程方面的这个很好的 program。那么有关这个天文物理方面哈，他提到特别是耶鲁大学是有非常好的这个 program， 而且他是有学生是选了这个夏校，后来被耶鲁大学录取的，所以他建议大家是选这个大学直接开的这些 program， 他觉得质量是非常高的。OK， great。Okay, so do we have other questions?
Julia， 他们后面还有挺多问题的。有人问那个John， 如果你看他的那一个 chat box 里面，对，然后其实大家问题还挺多的，要不你可以就一个个的对。
Okay, so I will very briefly mention it. So one, to John, can international students apply for Bank of America summer program?
Yeah, great question. I don't think you can. I'll have to double check on that, but my understanding is that's mostly for domestic U.S. students.
Okay.
这里我可以补充一下，对于很多海外的学生来，大多数的夏令营是可以的，但是每年都出现一个问题，就是国外学生的 medical forms，因为国外学生这里不只是中国，包括一些日韩、泰国。各方面的，它有一些国家，它的医疗单和美国的医疗单是不一样的，尤其是疫苗这一块。那我们每年都会碰到家长，其实学费已经付了，机票也已经买了，最后一查疫苗单，或者说一查他的 medical form， 没有获得美国的就是需求，最后呢，他们就只能退营。那有些家长也可以说，哎，那我以前报过一些夏令营，都没有问我要过 medical form， 或者说我随便发了一张，他们也没有再跟我就是说要更新的。我觉得其实这是一个警示，如果一个夏令营都没有问你要最新的医疗单的话，我认为这个夏令营其实对孩子的安全并没有把它放到最高或者说很重要的一个地方。所以很多海外的学生，如果这个夏令营他愿意接受的话，那他的第一步就是能不能拿到这张国际的医疗单和最新的疫苗接种单。
谢谢 Zoe， 这可能是很多家长、国际学生会忽略的一个问题。好，那我们问 David 先生一个问题。David, we got one question for you. My daughter is interested in history, language, philosophy. Any summer program on this?
Could you repeat that again? I didn't hear the beginning part. I'm sorry.
My daughter is interested on history, language, philosophy, any summer program on this.
There are numerous programs in the liberal arts. We've spent a lot of time tonight talking about very specific academic programs, but there are also some quality liberal arts type programs that would encompass much of what you just asked about, and we can post a few of those options in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So because now it's kind of late, so I will ask Allison from Coffee Club, when do you think we should maybe wrap it up or?
我看一下哈，因为我觉得今天那个嘉宾和家长的互动挺好的哈，然后家长的问题也还蛮 specific 的。我们到11:10正式结束，可以吧？就还有7分钟。
Okay. So Allison, our host suggests, what about we give the audience a few minutes to ask questions and we answer. So we will end the whole meeting by 11:10. Would that be okay? That's in 7 minutes. OK， 好，那我们还有7分钟就要结束会议哈，因为那我们的这个咖啡俱乐部的主持人也觉得大家是很踊跃的发言。那我们现在继续来回答问题。Allison, you could also take questions from the audience. Any medical program? Who wants to answer this question? Medical program. medical program for how to say freshmen or graduate students. I'm not sure about this.
然后我们有观众举手，然后那个也可以就说直接开麦，然后问问题。如果这样比较节约时间的话，哈，
那你开好吗 ？OK。
他应该可以自己开，就是我们的那个我们的观众可以自己开，对。
你好，我想问一个问题，可以吗？
可以。
我想问一下，就是小孩子10年级的孩子在10th grader for the art for digital art. Do you have any recommend summer program for her?
Yes, one in particular in Boston, Emerson College. John might have more direct information since he's has recent experience in Boston, but Emerson has long had a good reputation for digital arts.
Is it Emerson, right, David?
Emerson, yes.
Thank you so much. Could you type the whole name or in
Yes.
the chat box? Thank you so much. Yeah.
So I have a question that if the kids do not know their major yet, and she's in 9th grade, and which summer camp would be great. For example, like she want to go into psychology major. Is any program you guys can recommend?
Yeah, I'm also interested in summer programs in psychology and neuroscience.
So which question which speaker you want to direct the question
to? Maybe all of them, whoever can answer this question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take a first stab at that. So in terms of summer programs for students who aren't sure about their major, and let's say they're kind of on the younger side. So one great option is Summer Discovery. So if you go to summerdiscovery.com, they have a lot of great options for middle school students at campuses around the country. So you can look at some of their courses and they're very great. They're also, the Columbia Online Summer Immersion, the online program is really great. They take students who are, let's say if you're in the 8th grade going into 9th grade, you can take courses online at Columbia. And it's a really great opportunity, I think, for students. The thing that I really recommend with students who really have no sense of what they want to do is to take an online course in a field that you might be interested in. So if you're interested in psychology, Coursera and edX are really great. They offer, very sort of layman's type courses. And then if your child thinks that, psychology might be an area of interest, you can take the course. What's great with those courses is they're usually free to sign up, and you don't have to report a letter grade as a transcript to a college, which some students run into trouble with that. So those are just a couple options that you can look into.
Thank you, John. Okay,
Can I ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, what is the pre-college option for the 8th grader, the rising 9th grader?
Yeah, great question. So the Columbia Online Summer Program, and I'll put the link into the
Yeah, I found that already, but any other choices?
Yeah, so Summer Discovery, I put that link in there. That's a pretty good program.
That is from Wharton, right?
No, that's actually separate. They have campuses across the U.S., so they're a private company, and then they do these summer enrichment programs.
Okay, and what else?
Yeah, so I think those are the big ones for students who are, let's say, the kind of middle school range. It's a little bit tricky. The two big programs that I've seen lots of students do are Duke TIP and Johns Hopkins CTY. So those programs are more appropriate for students in the middle school years.
Sorry, you said the first one is Duke, right?
Yes.
Duke Tick is,
Yes.
so it's just a Duke summer pre-college.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think it's about like a 10:09. Maybe we'll, but thank you so much for our speakers. Thank you so much for your time and to speak to our audience. So, Allison, how do you want to end the meeting? Maybe we can let speakers to say 1 or 2 sentences and we say goodbye to our audience.
好的，我觉得今天特别，我听得到我吧？听得到哈，我没有对。今天特别感谢4位嘉宾的这一个非常的 informative 的这样的一个讲座哈。那我们现在可能只有我看一下还有 Maple， 就是我们每位嘉宾呢，就是说大概就是说1句到2句，就像您刚刚说的，想对我们这一个家长的一个建议。或者是他们的一个 recommendation 或者是 advice， 然后我们今天就可以结束了。
好的。So we're going to end, but we would like to have every speaker for this event to say 1 or 2 sentences to the audience. Would that be okay? Starting from John, do you want to start?
Yes. So really very quickly, you're planning for the summer, work with a coach. Try to develop a plan for every summer of high school. Also think about, your timeline and logistics with all of the other things that are going on in your life and have a backup plan. And if you need help, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. And David?
I would thank everybody again for giving me the opportunity to share, and I would remind people to keep asking questions. You're asking a lot of great questions. Don't ever stop asking questions. And make sure you factor fun into your summer plans.
Great. And Zoe?
Same here. Really enjoyed tonight, and I hope everyone finds the best summer camp for your children.
Wonderful. 那再一次感谢我们的听众和观众在百忙之中，在周末的时候抽空来听我们的讲座。那也希望以后我们和咖啡俱乐部可以合作更多的教育系的讲座，好吗？
好的，大家就说最后的时候，我这个咖啡俱乐部和思慧呢，我再帮我们自己再宣传一下我们的一个项目哈。我先 share 一下我的这一个 PPT。然后呢，这个呢是我们现在已经开始招生的一个 K-12 的一个项目，是这个春季到夏季的。这个是有分3个系列：少儿理财系列、青少年投资系列，以及青少年的这一个领导力以及 career planning， 就是这个职业规划3个不同的 category。大家如果感兴趣的家长呢，可以在群里面 at 我们的小助手，联系他们来了解我们这个课程的详细的一个情况，或者您也可以登录现在这个屏幕上的这一个网站 withwiseacademy.com K-12 Education 来了解我们更详细的一个信息。好的，这是我们的2个二维码。然后今天的这个讲座呢就非常的圆满的结束了。Thank you everyone, thank you every speaker, thank you Julia and Maple, fantastic translation. Yeah.
Bye. Good night.
Okay, bye bye.
Again.
Thank you.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.